Rev up your engines! Okay, today I have a somewhat odd car. They only made these things for a few years, 4 or 5 years. It's a Prius V wagon. And if you look at it closely, it's really kind of a hybrid version of my wife's 2007 Matrix. You know, especially the back. It looks a lot like a Matrix. It's got 4 doors and it's got a little back. Actually, the Matrix has a little bit bigger back on it, but it's pretty much a hybrid Matrix as far as I'm concerned. Now, they've been making these things for over 25 years, the Prius line, right? They last a long time. He had a previous one, it had 200-something thousand miles. He sold that and he bought a newer one. He bought this used and now it's got 100,000 miles on it. Still runs perfectly fine. The main system behind this, the hybrid system, it just keeps evolving with Toyota to get better and better. Now, as we look under the hood, you see the basic, and you could hear the acorns and stuff. He lives in Maine. The squirrels are throwing things on his car, right? Now, this hybrid synergy drive, Toyota pretty much has perfected. This transmission is totally different than what you think of as a normal CVT. This costs a lot more to make, granted. These aren't cheap to make, these electronic CVT transmissions. But aside from the early ones having some problems with the generator burning out, and then people would get rid of the cars because they'd say, look, you got to replace the whole transaxle assembly, you got to pull the engine, the motor out, it's going to cost you $7,500 or more to replace it. They don't have that problem anymore. It's extremely efficient, but it doesn't have all that crap that the other CVT transmissions have, the bands, the gears that wear out, that have problems, because this is an electric motor, so they can last almost infinitely in these things. The only thing that eventually would wear out would be bearings, and Toyota makes pretty good bearings. And that's really the part that I find amazing about Toyota production. Realize this baby indeed was made in Japan. They are so well made that I've seen them with 250,000 miles. They're still going. This has got 100,000 something miles on it. Runs fine, doesn't burn any oil. His previous one he sold at 210 and it doesn't have any problems yet either. I mean, it just shows you that Toyota, they've sold millions of these things worldwide, right? They know what they're doing and they keep improving them. And I find it amusing. They've been making these things for 25 years. Prius means like the first electric mass-produced car, right? Guess what? They're still making them now. They don't do like Americans and, that stinks, throw that away, let's make something else. It doesn't work, they throw it away. They just keep improving it over time. I mean, the new ones can easily get 55 miles a gallon. He got 43 miles a gallon driving it over here because it's an older one, but he did one thing that's interesting. Now you see these beautiful alloy wheels? They're the original wheels. You don't generally see that because Toyota covered them with this plastic crazy cover because it's more aerodynamic. Truth be told, if he would put those back on, he would probably get about a mile per gallon better gas mileage because there's less wind resistance. That's why they do it. But he likes to look at these. Who really cares? If you're getting 44 miles a gallon, do you really care? Now he's changed the oil filter, and recently he had the brakes done at 100,000 miles. Regenerative braking does save a lot of wear and tear. It's a relatively heavy vehicle because of the battery and the hybrid system. You got 2 systems in it. Talk about a typical Toyota. Very low maintenance. He's still on the original battery here. We're gonna put my fancy scan tool and see how much is left of it. Now as we look inside, it's got a nice layout, nice armrest. You can do all kinds. You can do EV mode. Now, this isn't a plug-in, it's a regular one. So EV mode isn't going to take you very far or very fast. Once you get up to 20-something, it'll automatically turn the motor on. Now, if you get a plug-in hybrid, I've had a guy brought me a RAV4 plug-in and he said he went 55 miles on electricity alone, and that included driving 60 miles an hour on the highway. So fancy, I'll tell scan tool out here, and we'll push the button. So we've turned it on. All the lights are on, so it's going to do a topology scan. All right, while it's doing a scan, we'll start looking around. I love these cloth seats because they wear phenomenally. You can't even see wear on them, but they're super comfortable. And look at the room in the back. These V-Wagons are optimized for size. As the owner said, since they don't make anymore, if something ever happens to this, he don't know what he's going to do for his wife because she really likes the size of this thing. It looks smaller than the Matrix on the outside, but it's much bigger on the inside. The trouble codes are going to be nonsense stuff like the tire pressure monitoring system. Those things always wear out someone when they get old. He said it's been on a while. You can see data isn't received for many of them because each tire stem inside has a battery and a transmitting station. Guess what happens? Duh. The battery dies over time, right? Can you replace it? You got to take the tire apart, put a new one in, and reprogram the system. Most people are just get a tire gauge, check your pressure every once in a while. He's not going to mess with that. And the other code is the smart key. Lost communication. That happens all the time with these things. Doesn't mean anything as long as it starts. He does have an extra key, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Well, he just explained to me what happened was the other day, the key fob went dead. He put a new battery in, it worked. Well, the machine remembered it, so I erased the code, so that one won't come back. This is a hybrid car, so unlike the normal car where I'm going to show you everything about the engine, the engines on these things, this thing runs fine, doesn't burn off. What we're going to show is the hybrid system. Well, look at live data. It's even showing the engine data here, but we want to go to the electrical data. Look, no problems. Never been high, 0, 0, 0, no high. It's not having any overheating problems at all. Cool thing, check it out. It even knows the gradient of the road surface. And you can see all this electronic stuff, normal. Shows you the temperature of the motors. And that shows you why, if you do own one of these and it gets really old, you're going to have to know a guy like me who understands what all this crap means, right? With a machine like this. Because if it's got a problem, immediately we go through, and if there's codes, you look at them, but if there aren't codes, you scroll through, and if you see, okay, that temperature's in the red, you'll know, okay, why is that particular motor overheating, and you know what to check for. There is a lot of data. And now comes the interesting thing. It has the voltage for all the different blocks of batteries inside. As you can see, there are 14 of them. So they're all perfectly fine here. But if one had a problem, you could actually change the block if it went out. You wouldn't have to replace the entire battery. If you're willing to take it all apart, replace that particular block, put it all back together again, you don't necessarily have to buy the whole battery. I make videos saying, oh, I'd never buy a hybrid car. They're so complex, they cost so much to fix, blah, blah. And that was true back then. But back then, this machine didn't exist. This machine exists now. And since these are so well made, hey, a lot of times it's just a moot point. It's going down the road, it works fine, still has the original small battery, has the original big battery. There's one with 200-something thousand miles did. You really can't complain at that. I'll take it for a spin. We'll start her up. Doesn't do anything, but the green light's on, so you know. Now we're going reverse. And it's got a cute little backup camera. You can see pretty well. There goes the motor now that we're moving. Because there's two old fat guys in the car, so it needs a little more torque, you know? You can hear it humming. Okay, now it's still got the original shocks and struts. And, hey, for a small wheelbase vehicle, it still rides quite well. We're going in power mode here. He had it in eco mode. We're going to put it in power mode to see what it can do. Now realize it's basically driven by electric motors, so they do have decent torque for a small car. So it's turned itself off. Here we go. We're still on the gas, and woo! It started to burn those tires before traction control came in. Driven by electric motors, and those motors are torquey. So they've gone a long way, and this isn't even the brand new one. The brand new one's got like 50% more torque. They really made him get some zip. And it gets better gas mileage too. It's kind of bizarre. Usually you can't have power and better gas mileage, but somehow Toyota figured that one out too. That's the thing with electric cars. Yes, they can be super, super fast, but do you need something that's super fast? Do you need a battery that big to make them go that fast? No, in this case, you got a smallish battery, a smallish engine, and it's got plenty of pickup to it, but it gets 44 miles a gallon. If you're thinking of a hybrid, maybe you don't like a Prius, maybe you like a Camry, a Corolla, or a RAV4. They all come in hybrids too. Take Ford with their big mistake of making their Maverick hybrids in Mexico. They've had nothing but problems with those things, right? Oh, let's make a really high-tech hybrid new design pickup truck in Mexico. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, all kinds of things have gone wrong and probably will continue to. They've only been out for a couple of years, and they just had another recall on them where the taillights don't work because they were made in Mexico. It's a shame they don't make them anymore. Yeah, they still make the Priuses, and like I said, they said they weren't going to, but you know they're going to, because hybrid cars seem to be a lot more of the future. They're selling like hotcakes, and if the government pushes that instead of these stupid all-electric cars, let's face it, they bet on the wrong horse that's lost the race, but they're still betting on it, even though the race is kind of over, right? Unless they have a radical change in battery technology and an infrastructure. Hey, there's no range anxiety. It's one of these. They go a long weigh 44 miles a gallon. Hey, try that with an electric car range. You could never even get close to what this thing will go. They have a lot of complex technology in them, but Toyota keeps perfecting them. They make the electric motors a little bit bigger, a little bit better, right? Well, the Americans do the exact opposite. Can we make that electric motor smaller and cheaper so we can build them cheaper? It costs money to make these things correctly. That Toyota's pretty much perfected. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.